afternoon, everyone from the city of Halifax here in Nova Scotia. I would like to thank you today for joining our information session. Today, we want to look at the express entry, and we all are aware that draws are scheduled to resume July 2022, precisely on the 6th of July. The Minister of Immigration has made that known to everyone that from the 6th of July, Canada will resume express entry draws. My name is Wisdom Akpokige. I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I am the principal consultant with Dow Immigration Consulting Services here in Halifax in Nova Scotia. I am duly registered with the College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants here in Canada, which would be the regulatory body. I'm also a member of CAPIC, IMEDA. I also hold a foreign worker recruiter license with the province of Nova Scotia and the province of Saskatchewan. And today, I will be running us through some of the recent changes in the system and what we should expect. We hope to be able to take a few questions at the end of today's information session. So if you do have any question as we progress through this session today, feel free to drop your questions on the chat box. And after the presentation, just before we wrap things up, we'll be able to take some of the questions before our time ends today. Okay, what have we got here today? The express entry. Now, many people, I know many of us know what the express entry is, but I'll just run through this basic information. So bear with me if you already know some of these things. The express entry is an online application system for skilled workers. It was used to manage this. It is used to manage the 3 federal economic immigration programs in Canada. Now, there are 3 programs here in Canada: the Canadian Experience Class, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, and the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So these 3 would all come under the express entry system. And I'm aware that most provinces have also latched onto the express entry system for the provincial nominee program, but we will not be talking about that today. So all applicants must meet the eligibility requirement of at least one of these 3 programs that I just mentioned for them to have an active express entry profile. Sometimes people refer to this as being in the pool. So for you to get into the pool, you must meet the eligibility requirement of at least one of these 3 programs. In addition to meeting eligibility requirements, applicants would also need to demonstrate financial capacity and admissibility to Canada. So you just basically need to demonstrate that you have the financial capacity to be able to come to Canada with your family without depending on the government. And also admissibility. You don't have any criminal offense against your name, and medical inadmissibility is another thing that's being checked now. But as long as you are not inadmissible to Canada and you meet the eligibility requirement of one of these 3, and then you demonstrate adequate proof of fund, you should be all set to go there. The Canadian Experience Class. Now, in 2021, just before the end of 2021, Canada actually halted invitations for Canadian Experience Class. In 2022, precisely December, sorry, I take that back. In 2020, precisely December 2020, Canada actually halted invitations for federal skilled worker and federal skilled trade. And we'll talk about all of that in a minute. But the Canadian Experience Class was draws, they stopped draws in just before the end of 2021. Now, what is the Canadian Experience Class? This program has some minimum requirements that we'll run through now. Skilled work experience for at least 1 year in the last 3 years, I beg your pardon. And the language ability, you need to demonstrate NOC, skill CLB 7 for NOC skill level 0A and 0A and skill CLB 5 for NOC skill level B. In each of the 4 abilities, we know that for our language, we have writing, reading, listening, and speaking. The Federal Skilled Worker Program. This is where I understand that most of us here would really be looking at getting into, because this does not require a 1-year work experience in Canada. Now, the Federal Skilled Worker Program has minimum requirements as well. Skilled work experience, 1 year paid continuous work in the last 10 years. Language ability, CLB 7. And education, you must have at least a high school diploma, what we call secondary school back home in Nigeria. You must meet all requirements to be eligible. Remember, we also have the proof of funds and the admissibility requirements, even though they are not stated here. Selection factors. If you meet all the minimum requirements, your application will be assessed based on your age, your education, your work experience, arranged work in Canada with a valid job offer, English and or French language skills, adaptability, how well you're likely to settle here in Canada. These factors are part of a 100-point grid used to assess eligibility for Federal Skilled Worker Program. You earn points for how well you do in each of the 6 factors. The current pass mark or the eligibility point is 67 points. So you need to score 67 out of 100. Now there is the Federal Skilled Trade. I won't dwell so much on this, but I'll just touch on a few things. This also has minimum requirements for skilled work experience, 2 years full-time work experience in the skilled trade within the last 5 years before application, under skill level B. And then we listed out the major groups here. You can see that on my slide here. Meet job requirement for that skilled trade as set out in National Occupation Classification, except for needing a certificate of qualification. So these are some of the requirements for federal skilled trade. Now, you must also have either a valid job offer of full-time employment for a total period of at least 1 year, or you can receive a certificate of qualification in that skilled trade issued by a Canadian provincial, territorial, or federal authority. Language ability here, we see that things are watered down a little bit. You have CLB 5 for speaking and listening, and CLB 4 for reading and writing. Education, there's actually no minimum requirements for this program. Again, you must meet all the minimum requirements to be eligible for this program. I'll jump quickly onto the comprehensive ranking system. So once you get into the pool, the comprehensive ranking system is used to really assess you and then give you like a point in the system. So the comprehensive ranking system is a point-based system used to assess and rank individuals by allotting points based on their peculiar situation. Every eligible express entry profile receives a comprehensive ranking score, which we often refer to as the CRS score. The system assesses the following areas: your skills, your education, your language ability, work experience, and some other factors. I know I've mentioned skill level a couple of times here. I'll just take a few seconds here to explain what this means. NOC, we already saw that is National Occupation Classification, and we have skill level. So instead of using like for roles, instead of saying maybe like an engineer, the government of Canada is using like 4 digits to represent these different professions. And they're also classified into skill level based on the nature of education that is required to attain them, and the training that's required. So, for example, for you to be an engineer or an accountant, it is expected that at least you would have gone through the four walls of a university to obtain like a bachelor's or something along that line. Whereas if you are looking for a skill level that is lower, you might not need to go to a university, maybe a secondary school education would qualify, or even just a short work experience to demonstrate that you understand the trade and how and you can perform the role effectively. But by the fall of this year, I think the government of Canada is going to replace the skill level system with what we refer to as the tier system. So what is the tier system? Tier system assesses individuals based on their training, education, experience, and responsibility. That's why it's called the tier, T-E-E-R, training, education, experience, and responsibility. And in the next slide, I'm quickly going to show you the comparison. I'm going to compare the skill level system with the tier system so that we can all just see some of the differences here. Now, this is a table that compares the skill level and it gives you its tier equivalent. So we see we had skill level 0, which is now equivalent to tier 0. So this is for managerial jobs. Skill level A, jobs requiring university education. Now we have that it can either be tier 1 or tier 2, depending on the years of experience. So they're trying to bring in years of experience to kind of water down some of the educational requirements there. You can follow down the table for skill level B, skill level C, skill level D, and then D is equivalent to tier 4 or tier 5, again, depending on the number of work experience. And then we have finally tier 5. These will be jobs that require short work demonstration and no formal education. As you agree with me, there are many roles that you do not actually require formal education to be able to perform. This table tells us the tier equivalent of the skill level. Now, I think this is where we would spend a few minutes here to talk about, and I know that this is where most people here would really want to understand how things are going on. So what do you expect? Remember, we said federal skilled worker was stopped in December 2020. So I think it's reasonable to expect that everybody that is eligible would by now be dusting their profile, dotting their I's, crossing their T's. These 2 years also would have provided more opportunity for people to either improve their situation, get more degrees, write better language, get better language scores, added work experience and all of that within these 2 years. So we expect that the CRS score of many people would have increased between 2020 and 2022. Even though you would want to argue with me that the age is another factor that can reduce it, because 2020 to 2022, you would have lost 2 years, which is usually five years if you are coming in as a couple, which would translate to 10 scores. But I mean, getting better language scores, getting more education, getting more years of experience, you'll agree with me that those will easily overcome the points that you're losing, or will make up for the points that you're losing for age. So gradually we expect to see people come back into the pool with improved scores. Now, that will then lead to more numbers. So the pool is going to increase. We have many people coming back in the pool, people that had said, oh, they didn't know what was happening. They've not heard from Canada in like 2 years. Now everyone is aware that on the 6th of July. So hopefully before now, everybody would have, or those that are interested would have put in their profile. They've set their profile up, and those that have not done this still have between now and the 6th, hopefully maybe 5th of July, to dot all their I's and cross their T's. So now that we are definitely going to have more people in the pool, what would that translate to? I mean, it will be reasonable to also expect that the cutoff for the invitations would go high. So if you have followed the Express Entry before now, you know that periodically there are draws, and we have rounds of invitation, and usually the minister sets a particular score and says, okay, anybody that scores above this point would receive an invitation to apply, or what we refer to as ITA. So now that we have more people in the pool, or that we're going to have more people in the pool, and we're going to have increased CRS scores, it is reasonable to expect that the first few draws will be on the high side, so that they can also regulate and manage the number of people that will be invited per time. But again, it's also reasonable that after the first few draws, we will kind of see some dropping of that score, the cutoff score for invitation. So if you don't get your invitation in the first or the second or the third draws, just be patient as things go down, as the high scorer, as the high scores are being removed from the pool. I think it's reasonable to expect that the cutoff would begin to drop gradually, just as a benchmark or as a reference point. In December 2020, I believe the last cutoff that we had for FSW was 486. So again, like I mentioned, we might see things closer to the 500s or in that range for the first few draws, and maybe gradually we'll begin to come towards the 486, and possibly, again, depending on what the mix is in the pool, we might even get points that are lower. So what are you expected to do? Now, the first thing, obviously, is to get into the pool and set up your profile. Now, you would want to ask me, what's the difference between creating my profile today or creating it a week ago, or creating it a day before the 6th of July? Oh, yes, there is definitely an advantage of creating your profile early, and that is because of there's what we call the tie-breaking rule. So, for example, if the cutoff point is 486, just for the purpose of this example or this scenario that I want to paint, and then we have 1,000 people that have 486 on the dot, but we only need 200 of those people. The government of Canada is going to use what we call the tie-breaking rule, which means first come. So even though you and I were both having 486, if I created and set up my profile last week, and you are only just setting your profile today, I will be called before you under the tie-breaking rule. So simply put, the date and time that you entered into the pool would be used as an advantage if you have more people that have your score than they are willing to take. So I would strongly recommend that if you're not yet in the pool, don't wait till the last minute to get into the pool, simply because of tie-breaking rule. Another thing is you submit your profile, you have a chance to review, think about things, go back 1 or 2 times just to be sure that there is no glitch or there were no errors when you were completing your profile. But if you did that like on nights before the first draw, you won't have that opportunity to review. Again, this is IT, and we know that things can happen pretty quickly, especially with the computer. You want to click on something, but by mistake you clicked on something else. But if you have that window to, go back, think about some of the things you said or the claims you made, and then if you need to change anything, you have time to change those things before the draws. Now, if you submit early and you receive your ITA, hopefully you score very high and you receive an invitation to apply, woohoo, you're all set. And you can then put in your application to become a permanent resident here in Canada. So with all of this said, because the number of applications would increase, and again, the government of Canada has the number of applicants that they want to accept per quarter, per year, and all of that. They have all of that pretty much set. They would use the cutoff point to regulate the number of people or to control the number of applicants. So if you think you have anything that you can do that can improve your score, you should be doing that now. Basically, you want to score the highest that's possible, because I think the first few or several, the initial draws would be highly competitive. And I don't think it is unreasonable to think in that light. So these are some of the things that we thought we should bring to your information as per what to expect this period. Would like to thank you for taking out time to attend our information session today. We know everybody has got busy schedules, but you did take out time to attend our webinar and information session today. Thank you very much. And if we are not able to take your questions today, or if you have any other thing that you'd like to contact us with, I've displayed our information on this slide. So our phone number is +1902 802-0512, and we're also on WhatsApp on this number. So if you prefer to reach us on WhatsApp, you're more than welcome. Our email address is info@dowimmigration.com, and our website is www.dowimmigration.com. We're also active across all social media platforms. You can follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook and Instagram. And our handle is at Dow Immigration. Thank you very much for your time, and until I see you again next week, do have a blessed week. Take care.